Hi, and welcome to my review for Coraline. I finally got around to seeing this movie. I wanted to see it since it came out in 2009. I never really had the time. Also, I really didn't want to spend the money to rent it, so I just was waiting patiently. And then finally, I just decided, you know what, I can rent it for free from the library. So I did that, and I really, really enjoyed this movie, to say the least. This movie is directed by Henry Selick. He directed Nightmare Before Christmas. A lot of people think Tim Burton did that, but Tim Burton just wrote it and produced it and really inspired the creative design for the movie. Henry Selick directed that movie. He also directed James and the Giant Peach, which I really liked, and Monkey Bone. That was not one of his better efforts, but it was still decent. And now he's directed this movie. It came out in 2009 and it was in 3D, and it was met with fairly good reviews and actually did okay at the box office. So I'm going to begin my review basically by just giving a brief plot synopsis. The movie begins with us being introduced to this character named Coraline Jones. She is, I think she's like maybe 12 years old, somewhere around there, maybe 10 to 12, and she is pretty unhappy with her life. It's boring. Her parents don't pay any attention to her. Her mother can't cook. Her dad does the cooking, and he's a terrible cook. And she has these neighbors. Basically, they live in this apartment complex. The people in the basement, there are these two really older women who are like retired thespians, and they're Shakespearean actors. And she basically doesn't like them at all because they're really annoying, and they're full of them. They're really high on themselves, and they bicker with each other. And in general, they're just not pleasant people. And then she also has a neighbor up above her named Mr. Bobinski. He is kind of like a recluse almost. He is interested in, claims he has a mice circus in his house, and he's interested in tulips. But she really doesn't like him either. And then she has this neighbor, this friend, I guess, who lives somewhere around here, named Wybe, and he kind of is a weird kid, and she doesn't really make friends very quickly with him. So in general, she's just unhappy with her life. And then she finds this passageway in her house, which leads her into a different world, which is very similar to her world. The geography is very similar, but everything is just a little tweaked. Everything's a little different. Her mother, for instance, her parents both have buttons for eyes, which was really creepy. Um, Her mother is a great cook. She feeds Coraline all this extravagant food. Her father, who was like this boring, just dry individual in the other world, in the real world. In this other world, he's like really eccentric. He plays the piano. He takes a more general interest in his daughter, and he's a gardener. And they have this amazing garden. And so Coraline basically likes this real world, and she thinks, well, maybe I should just stay here. So she goes back to her real world. She's unsure if it's really a dream, but then she slowly begins to realize that it wasn't a dream; it was real. And she also meets all the other characters that were in the real world in the other world. The two thespians, Mr. Bobinski and Wybe, they're all there, but they're different. They're an idealized versions of themselves, what Coraline sees as how she would want them to be, basically. But I think the moral of the film is be careful what you wish for, because eventually things start to go bad for Coraline. And I'll just stop there because I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but I'm going to talk about the look of this film is amazing. From a technical standpoint, this is without doubt the best stop motion animation film I've ever seen. I really feel like they've really pushed the envelope here and given us something that is really, really detailed. The stop motion is amazing. It flows. The camera work is incredible for a stop motion film. There's a lot of movement of the camera, which is great. The character designs are great. I appreciate stop motion because it's a dying art form, unfortunately, because I know that the process is painstaking. It takes a long time, but you're rewarded in the end because it looks fantastic. This is something that an animated film can never achieve, is this fluidity of character, this infusing. The animators themselves are actors. They're acting through the puppets. So there's, and then there's the voice acting going on. So there's three main actors. There's the voice actor, there's the animator who has the puppet, and then the actual puppet. So it's really something that is unique and something that I feel needs to be appreciated more. Unfortunately, it's not. Um, like that's the atmosphere of this film is amazing. In the real world, everything's very dark palette, very just gloomy. Kind of reminds you of a Tim Burton film. And then in the real world, I mean, I'm sorry, in the other world, everything's bright, everything's bigger, everything is much more welcoming, while at the same time a bit creepy, because there's a creepiness factor always in the other world. Like something's just not right here. And the other great thing about this film, I feel, is everything comes full circle. All the characters have a purpose. There's a reason that they're in this film. They either assist Coraline, they're used to make Coraline realize what life is about, or they are, against Coraline. In the case, the other mother is the primary antagonist of this film is her other mother, voiced by Terry Hatcher. She did a pretty great job. And the imagery of the film is spectacular. There's a shot that I really like towards the end of the film where the moon is bright green, and there's this button that's slowly eclipsing the moon, and it's almost used as like a stop, like a clock, like a timer. Like she doesn't have much time left to get out of this world, and the button is symbolic of that because it's slowly going over the moon. Because the other mother and the other father want Coraline to put buttons on her in her eyes, which means that she would be there forever. And the button then is used as a symbol there. This button's also on the key to the door to get into this other world. So the button is a reoccurring symbol of Coraline losing her humanity, losing her independence. There's a lot of other symbols in this film too. I won't go into any more of them, but this is a great film for anybody who appreciates art, anybody who wants to appreciate stop motion animation and what it can do, what it can achieve. This is also a great film just for people who really like a good story. There's a really good story here. It's not like it's only for artistic people, which a lot of people think it may be, because people always say, oh, well, that's a pretty good film to look at, but there's not much of a story. No, there is a story here. It's a really great story about discovering what's important in life. It's about, finding out who you are as a person, overcoming fear, learning to depend on others and not just yourself, which Coraline has to do because at the beginning of the film, she's very individualistic, which isn't a bad thing, but it can be because she can't achieve everything by herself. She can't overcome everything by herself, and slowly she learns that she does need help from others to overcome things. The other great, and also basically, I would also recommend this film to anybody who really enjoys the work of Henry Selick, but he's in top form here. This is a film that took I think 3 or 4 years to make, and it's really worth it because it's an amazing film. This film should have won Best Picture. It's far superior to Up, in my opinion, and I know that's blasphemous to say that a Pixar film, but Up should not have won the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture. This should have won the Academy Award for Best Picture. I really regret not seeing this in theaters because I feel like it would have been great. I would have loved to see it on a bigger screen. I didn't see it in 3D. I'm not a big fan of 3D. It just doesn't really work. I feel like the picture's too dark. Also, if you move your head a little bit, it doesn't really look as well. And frankly, it's just a gimmick, I feel. It's pointless. See this in 2D. If you really like 3D, go for it, but I don't recommend it. Also, I listened to the commentary on the DVD. The commentary is great. It's just Henry Selick. He's just talking about, how they made the film, some of the techniques they used, how close they stayed to the book, because this is based off a book by Neil Gaiman. And it stays pretty close to the book, at least from Henry Selick's point of view. I haven't read the book, but he really goes into detail about how he was very faithful to the book because he really enjoyed the book and he wanted to make a good adaptation. Now, obviously, there are some things that had to be changed for storytelling purposes, but that's expected. Um, I feel like fans of the book wouldn't be disappointed by this film because it does follow it very closely. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my review. If I were rating it out of 5 stars, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. This is near perfection. This is one of the best films I've ever seen. I really am going to enjoy watching it multiple times because there's always different things to discover in stop motion films. You can always see new things. You can always appreciate different aspects because there's so much going on in this film sometimes with many characters. You can't look at every single character and what the animator is doing with that character. It's really hard in one viewing. I've only seen it now twice, I guess, with the commentary. I have to watch it again though. This film will hold up, I feel, to multiple viewings because with stop motion, there's always different things to look at, different things to admire, different things to maybe say, oh, maybe this could have been done differently. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my review. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing your comments about the film below. If you disagree with me, tell me why you disagree with me. What could have been better? What could have been, different in this film for you to give it a better rating? And like the video also if you feel like this review was helpful. And I look forward to reading those comments. Thanks, and have a great day.